bright in the middle of the night. Oh look, there's a shooting star. Do you ever wonder who created
Radio Al Ansar, Durban 90.4 FM, Peter Maritzburg 105.6 FM.
Hey, it's Green Thumbs Up Day. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning, Zani Bonani, and all the rest. Hello, how's it, everybody? There in Radio Al Ansar land. I hope you are having a wonderful morning today. With you for the next hour is myself, Robbie Carvalho, and my, what shall we say, technological engineer over here, our sound engineer, Brother Sibonisi Mkize, in the house. Yes. Good morning, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, we're in the building. It's good to see you after so long.
It feels like so long, eh? It's only 7 days. Why?
Maybe it's because of the Eid.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe because it's been busy like a bumblebee. So today, folks, we have some stuff going on the show on Green Thumbs Up. Of course, your pulse of the planet. And if you remember a while ago, we had some people in studio with those slithering friends.
Yo.
Yeah. Well, we've got someone who's joining us today for the first part of the show. And this is someone who has been working with all sorts of reptiles all his life. He's a father, he's a grandfather, he's a reptile fundulations fundies, and he's going to be on the show with us this morning. But we did say last week that we are going to have Dr. Carrie Goodwin back, and we're going to continue with our gardening and apothecary combo forecast for the month, and we will definitely do that, and that would be after the ad break at 9:30. So for now, let's quickly touch on the weather, which we always do. And by the way, you know where to find us. 0609041056 is our WhatsApp number. You can get us also on the YouTubelations. Yes, we're on the YouTubelations. We're on the tubers. We're on the Instagrams. And of course, 90.4 FM in Durban, 105.6 FM in Pietermaritzburg. And it is Radio Al Ansar. And oh my hat, how is everybody doing? Are you all kind of getting ready for the next few days? And are you all getting ready and geared up for Eid? How's it all going there, folks? Let me know. Let's have a look here in terms of our weather in Johannesburg. Weather in Johannesburg at the moment is 14 degrees. Maximum for today is 20. So for the whole week, I give you a bit of a rundown. Your average temperature that you can look out for if you're in Joburg is 20 degrees. Hi, sorry, ne? Sorry. Cape Town, ultra sorry. Sorry, folks. Cape Town, it's an ultra sorry because your average temperature is probably more around the 18. You're sitting on 18 degrees today. You're going down to 17, as high as 20, but that'll be next week, Saturday. So, it's going to be a wee bit cold. Just a wee bit cold it is. Yes, it is. And in Durban, dearie darlings, what do we have? Durban, we've got sunny, blooming weather. We've got wonderful weather, folks. We've got 23 degrees today, and you can look forward to 25 degrees on Tuesday and Wednesday. So, Durban is still giving the warmth. It's still giving that wonderful coastal vibe. And yeah, winter doesn't really come to us. Nah? Winter's like Siboniso in Durban. Winter's just a friend.
Yeah.
It's a cozy buddy.
But once you go to those far away places.
Yeah,
like
Drangerspark. Oh, no, yeah, for sure. Even Joburg. I mean, I haven't worn a lot of the jackets I brought, I just gave away because you don't ever get to wear them here in Durban. And then, of course, when I go to Portugal, then I want them. But by then, they're gone. So now I do keep 2 winter jackets because Portugal gets cold in the minus. I remember when I was there recently, getting up in the morning and it was like -4, -6, and I'm like, yeah, put your tracksuit on, go walking. That's what you do in the morning. Doesn't matter the weather. Go do it. And it was the most wonderful feeling, the ice cold air in your face, and you're just trekking through the village, trekking through town and looking at what's growing. But let's get going like a Boeing, because we already have the man himself on the line. So we're going to be talking to, as I said, a father, a grandfather, and a reptile fundi. And you know how sometimes you start things as a kid, and I relate to this. 9 years old, I started my first herb garden, and herbs have been like a passion throughout my whole life, even though I'm a social worker, even though I am a marketing strategist, even though I, do all of these other things and inner child healing and shadow work, and I'm an author and a speaker. The herbs stay as a passion. And for Terence from Pure Venom, he started at the age of 10. Imagine, started at the age of 10 with the slithering friends. And we're not just talking snakes when we talk reptiles, folks. We're talking about all sorts of animals. And they are an important part of our ecosystem. Think of the food chain. We think we're on top of the food chain, but honestly, sometimes I think as human beings, we're only on top of the food chain because of our capacity, ability, and often desire to destroy. Seriously. Because you don't find snakes getting together and going, you know what, we're going to go to Durban and we're going to host a coop. No, they don't. They don't host coops. So you don't get crocodiles either going, hey mate, let's go. Let's invade Westville, Durban. Let's go. No. Crocodiles don't do that. So let's find out what they do. And let's say good morning then to Terence from Pure Feminine, who is joining us on StreamYard. And thank you for being on the show. Good morning, Terence.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
How are you today?
I'm very well. Very well. Thank you.
So, Terence, you started as a child, I believe, but what got you into reptiles and what kept you working with reptiles?
All right. So do you want the truth or should I tell you another way?
No, don't sing me a song. We like to keep it real here. Tell us the truth, the hardcore facts.
All right. So, like I said, I started probably around about between 9 and 10 years old. And at the age of 10, I first went out, caught my first snake, obviously took it home. Parents weren't very happy about it. They didn't allow me to keep snakes. And what did we do as kids in those days? If your parents said no, we did the opposite.
It was just a suggestion. It wasn't a no, you can't. So you kept a snake?
Yeah, and then from there on, it just became a fascination. It was something that was different. It was completely different. It was frowned upon in those days as well, from the tree of Adam and Eve, the snake, told her to have the bite of the apple, sort of. So, I think it was all got to do with, there was nothing out there. We had to teach ourselves about everything. There was no Google, there was no phones, there was no nothing. The only studies that we could do was from books. So we actually had to get out there, get dirty, go to the forest, lift up all the stuff, look for the snakes, capture the snakes ourselves. Nowadays, you don't get to experience that anymore. You just walk into a pet shop and Bob's your uncle, you can get any type of snake you want today.
Yeah, no, I can relate to that. We are of the same age. So when you're talking about, having to learn through the hard school of knocks, but with me, herbs don't bite me. Whereas with you, I don't know. I'm sure you got bitten along the way.
Yeah, look, definitely. It's like they say, if you're an electrician, you're going to get shocked once or twice. So being a reptile keeper, I think in my early 20s, I got bitten by a Western Diamondback rattlesnake, which put me down for like 28 days.
Ouch.
Because in those days, once again, the doctors didn't experience bites from rattlesnakes because obviously they're from America and not from South Africa. So we had no anti-serum in the country at the time, and no doctor knew how to treat me. So basically it was just touch and go, So I pretty much learned my lesson from that. But, it's not like you tormenting the snake or trying to show off with the snake like the guys do nowadays. It was just giving the snake some water, and I just took my eyes off the snake for a second. Before I knew it, the head was stuck on my hand.
Oh, man. That is not good. That is not good. And look, we have snakes. We've had snakes on the show today, and I wanted to talk a little bit more about the other reptiles because snakes, for me, was something I was afraid of. It was something that I've overcome, and it is something that I'm now fascinated by, which is a full 180 from where I was. People say it's it's a full 360. And I say, no, full 360 would mean I started off exactly where I was, because that's a circle, folks. 180 is the opposite side. So I'm on the opposite end now, where I'm quite fascinated by them. And if someone says to me, hey, here's my pet snake, he's friendly, he won't bite, hold him, I'll be like, yeah, bring him on. But now, you are into all sorts of reptiles, right? So what are your favorite little known facts maybe about reptiles?
Well, people need to understand that reptiles are like any other animal. So, they need their comforts. We've got to keep their temperature at a set temperature. They need the heat to digest their food. A lot of people think this is why snakes, obviously we winter snakes because obviously they hibernate because they're cold-blooded. But the problem in KwaZulu-Natal, as you were saying earlier on the radio, geez, you don't need a tracksuit, yeah.
No,
so
you don't.
The snakes in KwaZulu-Natal are pretty much, they've got both best ends of both things this side. Our winter's nice and warm. Summer's perfect for the reptiles. But if I have to say, reptiles also get sick. They get pneumonia, they get all sorts of problems. They get parasites. You have to parasite flush them. You have to give them antibiotics. Some people take your snakes to the vet or your crocodile to the vet. The vets have to learn very quickly. If I had to tell you back about 20 years ago, I used to help the vets on the coast here. And, I've taken up to a 500-kilogram alligator to the vet.
No
way.
way.
Just imagine what people are sitting in the waiting room with their puppies and dogs and cats, and here comes Pure Venom with a 500-kilogram alligator.
But listen, I mean, come on. You're telling me people take the crocodiles to the vet. How many people genuinely keep a crocodile as a pet? Like, do people actually keep crocodiles as pets? Please educate me.
Yeah, for sure. Right?
Really?
There's a wide variety of any crocodilian species. All right, that is not indigenous to South Africa.
Yeah.
So anything like your spectacled caiman, your dwarf croc, your alligator, your slender snout nose, and so on, you're allowed to keep it in your backyard without a permit.
Okay, so I've got a river on my property. Now, do I need a crocodile? What are the crocodiles? What's the crocodile's purpose in the food chain?
Okay, so our indigenous crocodile obviously is what we call the Nile crocodile.
Okay.
It's the second largest croc in the world, which the first one is obviously our saltwater crocodile from Australia.
Right.
So obviously the Nile crocodile gets his name from the Nile River. So they come all the way up from the top there, all the way down here. And they're pretty much commonly found up in the north coast. But we have had incidents with crocs in the rivers here. And I don't know if you heard, I think a few months back in Park Rennie, they found a croc on the beach.
Yes.
So they are seeming to finding their way into our local rivers as well. Sometimes the birds pick up the babies and then drop them.
Oh.
And that baby then will grow and grow and grow. And then, once it gets to about a meter or so, people start to notice them, especially fishermen.
Yes. But
if you want to see them in the wild, the North Coast would probably be your best bet, They do the trips up the river there, the boat trips and that, and you get a chance to see them in the wild. But they are in abundance, As I say, they are a protected species, but I'm sure you've heard of all the croc farmers, they farm them for their skin and that sort of stuff, where they're breeding them in the thousands. Every year, I've got a friend of mine that's got a croc farm, and he breeds about 20,000 babies a year. And, 20,000 doesn't sound like a lot.
No, it
when
sounds like a lot.
When you've got 20,000 mouths looking at you that you've got to feed every day.
It looks like a lot. No, it does sound like a lot. I'm sorry. 20,000 20 crocodiles sounds like a lot to me. 20,000 crocodiles sounds like an ocean of crocodiles. It sounds like an ocean of snap, snap, snap. We're going to bite you. Won't the crocodiles harm like dogs, like little dogs? I'm thinking my Jack Russell that thinks she's God, and I'm sure every Jack Russell thinks they're Superman.
Yeah, look, if anything is hungry enough, it'll probably try to eat anything,
Okay.
A lot of people think, I can tell you a quick story on snakes. Certain snakes will only eat white rats or black rats or only rabbits or only, that certain type of food or only chickens. They're very fussy eaters when it comes to certain things. So as like people say, African rock pythons, they eat people and they eat this and they eat that. It's like any animal. You get brought up to what you eat. So So certain things will eat separate things. But look, I don't say crocodiles won't eat your small dogs, but I haven't seen it or heard it. But I'm sure if they can get a chance and if they're hungry enough, I'm sure they probably will. But look, and you're now crocodile being protected means you're not allowed to have it, you're not allowed to keep it. You need a special permit to keep the animal. So I don't think you can have any Nile crocodiles in your backyard as a pet. But your neighbors, if they've got anything in exotic, then, you just got to watch out for your small dogs. I would make sure to keep them on my side of the property.
Yeah, I'm still I've got a few images in my mind that you've left me with, and that is the one, of course, is crocodiles, and dogs. And the other then is these little birds, picking up this, hey, I think that's a lizard. Let's get him, Charlie. And you're flying around like, oh, no, that's not a lizard. This thing bites. Drop. Kaploops into the next river. Next thing, you got this crocodile growing, and it's in the wild. But now, so it's interesting to me. We still get crocodiles here, and that people keep crocodiles on, this says very Florida for me. I can imagine in Florida people going to the shopping center and they're kind of walking their crocodile on a Diamante Swarovski crystal chain or something. But it's not a very South African vibe. So there seems to be this whole this whole side world for people who like, snakes. Because when you're talking about reptiles, you're talking about snakes, you're talking about crocodiles. What else are we talking about? Lizards? Yeah?
Yeah, look, just getting back to the crocodiles. Crocodiles have very good hearing, very good sight, very good smell. So if you raise your crocs, like all my crocs are I don't breed for the slaughter trade, I keep them as pets. So when I say pets, I mean if I whistle, then they know it's feeding time. Because when you don't whistle, or if they don't hear the wheelbarrow's wheel coming, they don't go into a feeding frenzy. Then they know food's coming, so they'll come to you. Okay. So this allows us to be able to go inside, walk amongst the crocs, cut the grass, clean the pools. But if they hear the wheelbarrow wheel, and they can hear it from the other side of the farm when we bring in their food, then you can see they start to get alert. They're waking up. They can know, lunch is on its way.
Wow. So
there's a few little things that you learn about them. Over the years, they got personalities, definitely. Mine have got some names. I've even named one of them after my wife.
Oh dear.
So she's in charge of that area, so that's my wife.
Oh dear. Okay.
Getting back to the lizards, lizards are growing fast. When I say growing fast, meaning they're becoming more common. A lot of people are enjoying them, putting them on leashes, carrying them like babies. I've actually got some very big ones that we take to shows, because I've actually got a big trailer which is about 10 meters by 2.5 meters by 2.5 meters high. Mm-hmm. And we have about 26 snake cages in there, tarantulas, and we have Godzilla, which is a 12-year-old rock monitor, which has been in all the movies. What's this thing called? Naked and Afraid, Survivor SA. We've done one or two Portuguese movies. So, he's very famous at the moment. He's lovable. He's a big baby. You can hold him like a baby. You can hug him. He's about 30, I would say between 30 and 25 and 30 kilos at the moment. And that's what we call a rock monitor. So if anybody would like to go, you can actually go and visit our site, and you can actually see all the guys that we're actually talking about on the radio today.
Right. So it's crocodiles, the snakes, there's spiders, tarantulas.
Spiders, tortoises, pretty much anything that is cold-blooded we have on our premises.
Really?
From the longest venomous snake, which is the king cobra. We have all the black mambas, we have the anacondas, we have the longest snake, the pythons that grow the longest, which are your reticulated pythons. We have rattlesnakes from all over the world. We have about, how can I quickly tell you, we have about 15 different species of cobras from all over the world.
So how long did it take you to accumulate all of these animals? Is this what you've been doing since you were 10?
Let me say, so from 10, obviously I wasn't, then I got to about 16, then I started getting into the venomous game. and my parents tried to get me out of it by
I'm sure they
offering me an off-road motorbike, get rid of the snakes, we'll get you a bike. And I got the bike, and then I got the snakes back again, So, getting back to that, the snakes, as a child or as a teen or as a sub-adult, if you want to call it that, the fascination of snakes was more into just watching them, learning them, see how they hunt, see what they do, So the venomous side of snakes was my forte. That's what I wanted. And I just grew and grew and grew. So my first venomous snake, my real proper one, was a rattlesnake.
Okay.
And when I came out of the army, I caught my first green mamba, put that in a tank next to my bed in my room.
You
And I
weren't
just grew
married
from
then,
there
I'm
and
sure.
And then from there is where people ask me, where did pure venom come from?
Yes.
And it's because my hobby was purely venomous. I just shortened it to pure venom. And that's been going over, what's it now? Sure, 30 years, 35, 40 years. No? Yeah, 40 years.
Sure. So now, also cold-blooded, we talk about frogs and toads and salamanders and things.
Yeah,
also
we have bullfrogs, our indigenous bullfrog that grows to the size of a soccer ball, eats rodents. Obviously we don't keep all the little toads in that. We do have a big walk-around pit where we have all our boomslang, nightheaders, red lips, bush snakes, green mambas. So we have a pond in there which we have platanas and toads and that, so the snakes can just go and help themselves to when it comes to feeding.
Buffet.
Yeah, it was actually amazing. In December, we had a green mamba in the pit, and for the first time in my entire life, I got to watch a green mamba bite a bird and eat it in a tree in front of everyone.
Oh, wow.
It was for me, that was amazing, because you'll never experience that in real life, because to try even find a green mamba in a little bush, it's very difficult, because they say it's green, but there's green.
Yeah.
But when you put green amongst greens, it's very difficult. So their camouflage is unbelievable. They move like the branches, when the wind sways, they sway. So, it was just, everybody was around, and then she caught this little bird, and she ate it in front of us. It was actually incredible.
Wow. So what are your plans for venom, for pure venom, for the future?
Look, it's very difficult. Obviously we all went through COVID, managed to get through COVID. Look, we're a big education institute. We started this, the snake training and the snake handling many, many years before the rest of the guys all jumped on the bandwagon. So we offer all of that. We do all the schools, and that's the main reason I built this big trailer, is to be able to go to all the schools out there, because obviously transport now is the big thing for kids. Firstly, they don't like their kids traveling too far, and then secondly, the fuel prices are just killing the people. So our concern now is that pure venom is probably at its best now. The park is looking amazing. We have monkeys, we have parrots, we have a little animal farm.
Okay.
If you come to my park and if you find any litter or even a stompy or anything like that, you'll be lucky, because, I'm a bit of a perfectionist in a way. I like everything to be 100%. And as I teach my staff all the time, or I tell them, that these animals can't walk to the kitchen, open the fridge and grab something to eat, or go to a tap, pour themselves a glass of water. So you got to make sure that every single day that these animals are kept in trim, proper condition.
So it's about...
my animals are always...
Yeah. It's about, showing respect for your animals and showing respect for the education that you are doing, because there's a lot of stigma around this, and human beings, we do think we're at the top of the food chain, and we think that these reptiles are beneath us, and yet we wouldn't exist, honestly, if it wasn't for the rest of the food chain. And reptiles do play a part. They're all carnivorous, so they do keep a balance of the ecosystem, the animal life, the insect life. They keep a balance of things for us. So give us your contact details, please. Just before we go to the ad break, let us know how can people reach you.
All right. Well, okay. So basically, if you just go to our website, it's www.purevenom.com, or you can reach us on Facebook, which is Pure Venom. If you want my contact number, it is 082 4928256. You can get hold of me anytime. If you can't get hold of me on that number, you can just send me a WhatsApp and we'll definitely get back to you. But like I said, on our Facebook or our webpage, you can make contact that way. And check in on us all the time, because we're going to be doing shows, and come and have a look at the big trailer. It's very educational. You're going to see things in that trailer that you'll never see anywhere else. And my guys are there to answer all your questions.
Well, that sounds absolutely amazing. I mean, folks, you know what? Take the kids, go and learn some stuff. Go and expose your kids to things that are different, to things that are unique. It'll be an experience that they'll remember probably for the rest of their lives. And Terence, we've been talking about hopefully doing something together with the show. Not quite sure where that's at the moment, but whereabouts are you based? You're based out near Shelly Beach, yes?
Yeah, we're in Shelly Beach. That's between Port Shepstone and Margate.
Okay.
So if you're coming down from Durban side, you just go through the main toll gate. Your first off-ramp will say Shelly Beach. You'll see the South Coast Shopping Mall on your left. At the bottom, you turn right. The very next set of robots left, and we're 700 meters down the road.
Well,
the signboard's all the way up.
Awesome.
Or you can Google us.
Yeah, of course. Well, I'll tell you what, next time my son and I go up to visit my uncle in Uvongo, we will have to stop by and come and check out Venom and take some footage for you, because I think it would be fascinating
fantastic.
to see some of those things.
Definitely.
Interesting.
And when you leave here, you will have the experience of your life.
Wonderful. Well, Terence, thank you so much for being with us on Radio Al Ansar. We really appreciate having you on the show. We've been trying to get around to this for a little while, so thank you so much for making the time and for educating us and telling us all about your journey in reptiles, so we can expand our minds a little bit. Thank you once again.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much for having me, and thanks to everyone that was listening.
Super. So, folks, that's Green Thumbs Up. We're just taking a quick ad break. We're going to come back with some gardening and apothecary with Dr. Carrie Goodwin. So don't go away, because a lot of you have questions that you send in terms of natural healing and remedies and things. And we're kind of throwing that in together with the gardening and the forecast of what's coming up in our gardens. So get your questions ready. Send them out to 060 904 1052 105. Oh, my brain. 060 901. What? 060 904 1056. Yes.
WhatsApp us now on 060 904 1056.
This Eid al-Adha, make your Gurbani count with the Pietermaritzburg Muslim Women's Organization's annual Gurbani project. Sheep, lamb and cattle options are available, with household and distribution services to help families in need this Eid. Give with purpose, share with compassion. To book your Gurbani, contact 083 278 6030. Pietermaritzburg Muslim Women's Organization, serving the community for over 40 years.
At the new Checkers Saxony Westwood, you'll find everything from our signature steakhouse classic cuts, expertly aged and ready for the braai. Try something exclusive like our Simple Truth certified lamb, responsibly sourced, free range and raised without added growth hormones or promoters. Checkers Saxony Westwood, butchery, bakery and deli, certified by the NIHT.
Join us on Tuesday for a spiritually uplifting live Arafat dua from the plains of Arafat with Maulana Vanker. As the Hujjaj gather on the plains, take this opportunity to connect in dua, reflection and remembrance on one of the most sacred days in Islam. The live Arafat dua is proudly sponsored by Anglo-Welsh Sharia. Tune in and be part of this blessed occasion of mercy, forgiveness and the heartfelt supplication for the Ummah.
لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك.
Station for Conversation, Radio Al Ansar.
And you're back with Green Thumbs Up, and I'm Rabia Carvalho with you till 10 o'clock. It is 9:40 at the moment. Time has flown by. It has flown by like those little birds picking up baby crocodiles that we heard about from Terence earlier on. Fascinating for me to find out about crocodiles. Like, did you know that there were so many crocodiles here in South Africa? And there's this whole like other community of, I don't know, it's wonderful for me. I think it's not, it's like, oh, that's weird. Oh, that's strange. No, it's wonderful. It's fascinating for me. I think it's wonderful that we have people who like different things, who are with, just enjoying different aspects of life and of the planet. And why not? Reptiles are one of those, right? So I've seen some beautiful reptiles actually here in Durban, some blue-headed lizards. I don't know what they are. But we're going to be talking now to Dr. Carrie Goodwin, continuing from last week by popular request. Yes, indeed. And let's see, do we have her on the line? Brother Sibinisu. Let's take a quick message. Quick message here from Sister Sarah Bibi Mustafa. My love, you have sent us such a long essay.
Hello?
Subhanallah. Hello, Carrie. Welcome to the show.
Sorry.
Hello. Welcome to the show. I'm going to be with you in a second. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
I was just going to take a quick message, if I may. The sister Sarah Bibi Mustafa, she sends us this beautiful essay full of love and du'as, and it's so sweet. She says the show is adorable and vibrant. Well done, Rabia Carvalho. Always hey, laughing show, subhanallah, beautiful nasheeds not playing. So thank you so much, Jazakallah, for your message. Remember you in my precious du'as through the bottom of my heart, my salams and du'as to Mom. Thank you so much. It means so much to us, our listeners, Dr. Carrie Goodwin. Our listeners are just such a part of our show. Obviously, without them, we wouldn't have a show. But it's also completely a community of people. They get the quirky sense of humor, and sometimes they bring it on times 2, times 5.
I can imagine.
Yeah, but we started talking last week, Carrie, about things that we need to be doing in the garden for the rest of the month. And for those of you already thinking, oh, it's gardening, I'm going to tune out. Don't go away. Don't tune out. Don't tune out, because you eat veg too, even if it's just the tomatoes.
Part of our gardening community.
Yes, because this is gardening and natural living. A shout out from Pakistan, from NG Halder. Well, walaikum salam. Just coming through here on the YouTubes. So, Carrie, tell us, what have we got to look forward to in the garden or on the porch pots?
So if we're going back to veg, I think we have to remember that when you grow it, and I think a lot of your listeners already know that, when you grow it your own, you know what goes into your soil, you know what comes out of your soil, and the healthiness of your own produce. And I want to say for me, I always think of winter, it's your cruciferous veggies. So if you haven't planted them yet, get planting quick. But luckily the temperature's been a little bit more forgiving, because we keep having cold and warm and cold and warm. So I think we haven't had that cold that's really going to boost our cruciferous veggies yet. But if you haven't planted your broccolis, your cauliflowers, all those things that do really, really well in the cooler months, I know down in Natal you don't get as cold as we do get up here, then plant them now, because this is when you're going to have success. If it's the first time planting them, it's even better to plant them now than try and planting them in summer when they're going to get attacked by the aphids and all sorts of things. So I always think, you want to plant in the right season, because then you're going to have success. And when you have success with something, it builds confidence.
Yes.
And that's what gardening is supposed to be about, is you're supposed to plant stuff. And if you don't know how to plant it, definitely be listening to the show, because you always give such wonderful advice. But also just ask your friends, ask your neighbors. I think that's why I love gardening, and is that it actually gives me an opportunity to share with people my knowledge and to learn from others.
100%.
And so even though it's not my favorite to eat especially not cruciferous veggies unless they're coated in cheese or something like that. But I do have some in my garden, but I'm planting like my cauliflower. I'm planting it because it's beautiful and I'm using it as an ornamental plant.
And
so I've got it in a pot on my patio, like a nice big 25 centimeter pot, just one plant. And I'm going to use it as a flowering plant, almost like you can get the ornamental kale. So we have quite a few customers who are getting confused between chamulia and kale, and then the ornamental kale, which comes as those beautiful white and purple colors. And we say, it's ornamental. It's meant to look pretty. I actually haven't tasted it. It makes me think I'm going to the garden center today to go and taste a leaf or two and see what they taste like, because it wouldn't be bad, but it's grown specifically for ornamental purposes. But I think use your veggies as decoration, as beautiful plants. To have a pot of spinach, and especially if it was spinach bright lights, with those magnificent stems coming through the golden and the red. I mean, wouldn't that be beautiful? And you don't need space. You don't need a lot of space to be planting. I mean, if you have a big family, obviously you need space. But I have a tomato plant, which it's a test. It's growing up in between my pavers. And I thought, how resilient is this poor tomato plant? And it's already like 1/2 meter tall. I feel I'm going to put a stake in it. But it's got these tiny little tomatoes. And it was just a test for me to see if plants can survive the hardiness of the environment in which we currently live in. Because, I mean, we know as South Africans, we are super resilient. Are our plants as resilient as we are?
Especially
in Joburg. And they're definitely proving to me that they are.
Especially in Joburg, you need that resilience because of the cold. But you were talking about the broccoli, and I was actually thinking about those ornamental cabbages, because a lot of people don't know ornamental cabbages come in a lot of different colors. It's not just, the white and the green. You've got some that are pink in the middle and purple on the outside. And to have a whole bed, if you have a winter bed, that you just kind of give it some rest by putting in all of this color and mix the colors. It's beautiful. A lot of people, you mentioned the bright light spinach. To have that spinach growing among your plants, people are very much, there's the vegetable garden and there's my formal garden. But the whole point of vegetables is they were just ornamental until someone said, hey, let me take a bite of this and see what it tastes like. And some people dropped dead because they ate the wrong thing. And some people carried on and said, oh, that's a good one. We'll eat that. Ornamental cabbage, I actually have eaten. It's just, it tastes like normal cabbage. It's just very fibrous and very kind of chewy, extra chewy, I think is how I would call it. Just a quick message here from Brother MH Osman. He says, Assalamu alaikum, Sister Rabia. Wa alaikum salam. Always a pleasure listening to you. That guy Terence is very brave. I also love crocodiles, but I don't think I'll visit anyone having a croc or a snake in their yard. Enjoy your day. Well, would you know? The question is, would you know? If they don't tell you, would you know? So you can visit the people with the ornamental cabbages. There we go. Because cabbages won't bite you.
Absolutely. And now I'm thinking of crocodiles, but when you talk about the ornamentals, also look at your edible flowers. Because if you had ornamental cabbages and your pinks and your purples, and then you had to put below it, because they're going to grow a little bit taller, some pansies, and the pansies also come in those similar colors. I mean, we've got rose-faced pansies and the reds, and again, the purples, blues, and in amongst your rose garden, I remember the first time I ever saw spinach growing in somebody's flower garden. It was actually in their rose garden. And I was like, oh my goodness, what is this person doing? But it looked amazing because she just pruned her roses. So they were just like sticks. And then we had these beautiful spinach leaves in between. And spinach, if you let it grow in a bigger space, the leaves actually get quite big and they're beautiful. And so she had the spinach, and then she also had some of the mustard. So also a lot of things that grow really nicely now is the stuff for our stir fries. So our tatsoys, our I've said chamulia, the mizu, the mustards, you get that dark mustard and you get green mustard. So and I always think it's nature's way of providing wholesome food for you when you need it the most. So in the wintertime, we need very nutritious, dense food to keep us healthy.
Yeah, and
I mean, that's why all our lemons and citrus are busy fruiting as well. It's so that we can be healthy. So if we plant in our own, sorry, I will stop. It's just so exciting.
It is exciting, Carrie. You know, I think to myself, people think winter is like it's a dead time. Everything is brown or everything is. It does not have to be. Winter can be one of the most colorful times in your garden, because not only do you get colored cabbage, but you also get colored broccoli. You get purple broccoli, you get orange broccoli, you get green broccoli, you get pink broccoli. More and more there's varieties of broccoli and cauliflowers as well. So and these are cultivars that kind of change. And think about it. You could plant like purple broccoli in a circle, and around that plant your yellow broccoli, and around that plant your green broccoli. And imagine when that actually grows and it flowers, and you're looking at this pot, this huge pot, or maybe you have a kiddie swimming pool that you're repurposing and you bury it in the ground, and that becomes your broccoli pool, you know. And it's just beautiful, and it can be beautiful, and you can kind of surround it with your bright light spinach, as you mentioned, and you can also have your cabbages, your larger cabbages. Your choumelier is one of my favorites, because a choumelier is a cabbage that is the closest to the traditional Portuguese cabbage. There's a specific traditional Portuguese cabbage that you don't really find in South Africa in a hurry, except among Portuguese community growers, because at Christmas time and the end of the year, people eat a lot of that cabbage. It's tradition. They're eating that cabbage with their bacalhau, their codfish and their potatoes and their carrots and all of that. And the choumelier has a very different flavor, and it's one of the only cabbages that you can use to make the traditional Portuguese green soup, which is so wholesome and so healthy. And all it is potatoes and that finely shredded cabbage. And you're cooking up your potatoes, you make them soft, you turn it into a very, very light puree, and then you throw in your cabbage, let it soak a little. You get some good Portuguese sausage. Find a halal one. I've seen a few here in Durban that are brilliant. Cut it up, put it on the top, drizzle some olive oil over that, and you've got this thick, beautiful, wholesome and so dead easy cabbage soup to make, which is so full of nutrition.
I was going to say, I'm loving my soups at the moment. I'm eating pea soup, I'm eating lots of butternut soup, pumpkin soup, and then thankfully my mom makes for me like a minestrone, but then she throws in some meat as well. And so there's just like nutritious soup. I feel that I am having a liquid diet permanently.
Yes, so
it's delicious.
Yes, go on.
No. So I was just going to say it, and some of it is stuff that's coming from my garden. You know, the pumpkins are what I harvested earlier on in March and April. So it's stuff that is coming from my garden, and then I'm getting to use it, and it's actually feeding me, which is fantastic. I don't have to go to the shops all the time.
Absolutely. It's feeding you, but remember, there is also medicine in it. So next time you're making pumpkin soup, and this is where our apothecary joins our gardening, which is the fun part, is
absolutely.
If you've made your butternut soup or you've made your pumpkin soup, take some nutmeg and grate the fresh nutmeg over that soup. Don't use too much, because if you're taking a full teaspoon of nutmeg, now you're starting to get toxicity, nausea, and so forth. But, you know, a teaspoon over a pot is fine. So sprinkle some nutmeg over it. Now, nutmeg is an antibacterial. So, you know, there's a lot of oral pathogens going on. It's cold and flu season when you go into winter. And here you're having your soup and you're having your medicine as well. Another thing that I do with my butternut soup, and I'll give you my recipe. I will take some onions and I'll very, very lightly braise onions in a pot. I then add some garlic that I've already cut and set aside, because it takes 10 minutes before the garlic actually activates all the goodness in it. Throw that into the pot, and then I let it talk to itself for a little bit with some olive oil. It talks to itself.
Yeah,
It does.
we only spoke to talk to plants.
Yeah, no, it's Skinner's.
Now our food sources are talking to each other.
It's Skinner's there in the pot. It's Skinner's to itself. And then I take it out and I blitz all of that, put it back into the pot with my pumpkin, with my water, with some chicken stock, and I boil that all together until it is lovely and soft. Now I've got the goodness of the garlic. I'm going to put nutmeg over it, and when I serve it, I will be naughty and take a little bit of fresh cream and just drizzle that into the soup. Because when you are, dipping into that soup, and you can do this with pumpkin as much as you can do this with butternut, it just gives you a wonderful, rich, deep flavor. And if you've got your own stock or you've made your own broth, then why not do that too? Use that, add that, put that in to your soups.
I remember going to a friend's house and we're having I don't know which soup it was. Say it was mushroom soup or something. And then there was cream on the table. I was like, oh, is that for pudding? Like apple crumble with cream? And she said, no, it's to pour over your soup.
Yes.
I was like, what? Yes. And then when you did it, it's like an absolute explosion in your mouth of different flavors that, because, if you taste a spoon before and then you put the cream after it, you can just, as you say, it's like a whole new soup.
Yeah.
It was absolutely scrumptious. I was like, bring on the cream.
And
I love dairy.
Yeah, and the thing with cream is if you're putting cream in your soup, don't stir it in and keep it in your pot and make it a cream soup, because you're not getting that versatility on the tongue. Remember, our tongue is all about the taste, but it's also about the textures. And when you're putting cream and you're pouring this thread of cream into the bowl of soup, your taste buds and your tongue is going through that that smooth soup, and then suddenly there's that creaminess, and then there's a touch of nutmeg, and then again you're back to that simple soup. It's beautiful to do. And there's also cold soups that you can be having nowadays. You can have a lovely vichyssoise, which is an onion soup. And is it time to plant our onions, Carrie?
Yes, you should be planting onions, especially your Texas grano and your brown Australian onions, and they take a long time to grow. So
Yes.
It is definitely plant time for onions. And the other one, underground one that you should be planting now is your seed potatoes. So, I always plant my potatoes because I always didn't really know the difference whether I was planting seed potatoes or chopping the eyes out of my potatoes that I'd left in the dark cupboard in my house.
Yes.
And I thought, it's much of a muchness. But then when I did plant seed potatoes and I saw how many more potatoes I got from my seed potatoes, I was like, oh, it's not much of a muchness. There's a big difference. But it's, you have to experiment to see those things for yourself, because otherwise people
100%.
tell you and you're like, is it real? Is it real? No, let me try myself. And then when I saw it, I was like, oh, so reason to plant seed potatoes instead.
Yes.
But I still do both. I just have to be far more patient with the ones that I cut my own eyes out of, the eyes of the potato. Sounded terrible, cut my own eyes out of. And then, and so I think definitely now is a great time to plant sweet potatoes as well, so you get a good harvest in the summer.
Absolutely. So sweet potatoes is it's such a staple food, particularly the purple sweet potatoes, your taro. It's different to our yams, our African yams. They are different. I'm talking about the ones that grow, in the Far East. But I've got a little recipe here for vichyssoise for those who are interested, because we said, how do you make that onion soup? Another question. Yes. I'm very frightened for snakes. I don't like them. That's okay. You're not alone. You're not alone, someone says. Okay, let's firstly take this comment that comes in here from Sister Miriam. She says, Salam Rabia and hi to Carrie. I have a basil plant in a pot. It has a lovely aroma, but I'm not keen to use it in my foods because of flavor. Please advise how I could make the most of the basil plant. So, if you're not using it for food, you could use it as a companion plant. Yes, Carrie?
Absolutely. One of the best. And it's a very good deterrent. Yes. So if it's in a pot, to get rid of flies, to get rid of mosquitoes in the summer, that type of thing. Normally, for us in winter, our basil will die down. It doesn't survive our cold. But it is, and then, as you say, as a companion, to get rid of aphids amongst other veggies. So if you were planting it in amongst your cruciferous veggies, or within your veggie garden as well. Even if you actually just sprinkle in some of the leaves and they dried out,
Yes.
that smell actually sticks with it. So I want to say almost if you were using it like as a mulch.
Yes.
If you cut them up a little bit and dry them and put them around your plants in pots, that would also work really nicely as a deterrent.
Absolutely. And on the note of deterrent, we need to rush along because it is almost 10 o'clock and it's time for the news. And that's the end of our show, Carrie. So we're going to speak to you again soon. Just in answer to that, one question with the basil as well from my side. Firstly, Carrie, thank you for being on the show. We appreciate
It's a
you.
pleasure. I
Thank you
love it.
so much. Then I want to address this question before I go in terms of your basil plant. If you are looking for an air freshener that's going to keep mosquitoes away, take your basil, fill a jar with basil, and then pour in witch hazel. Witch hazel is a vegetable type alcohol, which is halal, which you can fill your jar. Leave it for 2 weeks or so. Keep shaking it every day. Now you've got something that you can use to spray. If you add peppermint to it, it's going to keep wasps away as well. If you add citronella to it, it's going to keep mosquitoes, wasps, and even roaches away. So it makes for a lovely, lovely spray. I want to give you the recipe for vichyssoise, but it's going to have to wait till next week, folks. I'm sorry. Carrie, I'm going to send it to you.
So much.
I'll send it to you.
You.
And from us here on the show, we want to say to you, remember, today is